For years, I lived afraid that someone would find out what I did, until I realized I wasn't hiding a sin. I was protecting a purpose. Today, I'm sharing my story because maybe you're also being called to break rules that were never God's to begin with. I went to bed that night with my mind racing. It wasn't normal worry. It was something different, like standing on the edge of something about to change forever. I remember only fragments. The moment I turned off the lamp, the quiet hum of the ceiling fan, and one thought echoing in the darkness. I need to understand why all of this is happening to me. Then everything else faded away. Before that night, I was just like you might be now. I lived my life checking all the boxes, attended church every Wednesday and twice on Sunday, volunteered for every committee, said the right prayers, wore the right clothes, smiled the right smile. But something inside me didn't fit, a restlessness that grew louder each day. A question that wouldn't let me sleep. What if everything they told me was right? Isn't. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about God's commandments. I'm talking about the human rules, the ones they taught us as if they were carved in stone on the mountain, but were really built from fear, from the need to control, from the comfort of keeping everyone in neat little rows. I had lived by those rules for so long that I didn't even know who I was without them anymore. I had shaped my entire existence to make others comfortable, to never disappoint, to be seen as the good Christian girl. But every single night, when I turned off that lamp, a voice inside me whispered, "This isn't all there is. There's something more." In the dream, I was walking. I didn't know where, but I knew I had to keep moving forward. The space was vast. No walls, no defined sky. Everything felt bigger than me. I felt presence, didn't see faces, but felt authority. Then I understood. Without anyone explaining, there was something that needed to be carried, something big, something that would touch many lives. I tried to step back, said there were others better suited, more prepared, more confident. But the atmosphere itself answered for me. Not with words, with certainty. They showed me people, walking without direction, waiting for someone to stand firm when everything shakes. I understood it wasn't about commanding or controlling. It was about holding steady, about not abandoning ship. I felt fear, felt the weight of responsibility, felt like there was no way to pretend I hadn't seen what I'd seen. When I took that step forward, everything started taking shape. That's when I woke up. My eyes flew open, heart pounding like a drum, breath coming short and fast. The room was exactly the same. But something in me wasn't. I didn't wake up with ready-made answers. I woke up with clarity. Some seasons end in silence. Others begin the same way. That morning, I knew nothing would be like before, because now I knew which direction to walk. But here's what nobody tells you about receiving a divine calling. When God calls you, it's not always toward where everyone expects you to go. And that's what took me years to understand. The following days felt surreal. I tried to slip back into my normal routine, but it was like wearing new prescription glasses. I saw everything differently. The church small talk felt hollow. The sermons that used to inspire me now seemed limited, confined to a box that someone built a long time ago and we all just accepted as absolute truth. While this truth starts resonating in your soul, write amen in the comments if you've also felt that calling that others don't understand. I need to know I'm not alone in this. I started digging, reading, searching for answers outside the approved book list they'd always given us. That's when I stumbled upon Neville Goddard's words, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled." Those words hit me like a freight train, because for years they'd taught me that wanting was sinful, that I should be content with less, that asking for more was selfish. But here was this man talking about God in a completely different way, talking about a God who wants us to assume our desires, to feel them as already done. How could this be true when everything I'd been taught said the opposite? I spent nights staring at the ceiling, wrestling. Because you see, when you start questioning one truth, you have to be willing to question them all. And that's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I remember one specific night. I was on my knees on the bedroom floor, crying. Not from sadness, but from confusion so deep it hurt. God, I whispered into the darkness, if this is wrong, if I'm being deceived, show me. But if this is real, if you're actually showing me something new, give me a sign, because I can't keep living in this doubt. And he answered, not with an audible voice, not with an angel descending from heaven. He answered with peace, a peace that makes no logical sense when you try to describe it in words, a peace that came like a warm wave and covered me completely. And in that peace I heard, the chains you see as protection are actually your prison. And the freedom you fear is actually your destiny. I cried harder, but this time from relief, because I finally got it. I wasn't losing my faith. I was finding my real relationship with God. One without middlemen telling me how that relationship should look, direct, intimate, real. The next day, I made a decision. I would stop attending the church where I'd been a member for over a decade. Not because I hated the people there. Not because I thought they were wrong about everything. But because I knew my path was different. And staying would be betraying what God had shown me. You know how hard that was? In my community, leaving the church was basically declaring yourself God's enemy. It meant backsliding, rebellion, falling away. The messages started flooding in. We're praying for you. Satan has blinded you. You're being deceived. You'll come back when you hit rock bottom. Each message was a knife to the heart, because these were people I loved. People I thought loved me, but their love was conditional on my obedience to them, not to God. There were moments when I almost went back, moments when I thought, maybe they're right, maybe I'm the one who's wrong. But every single time I considered returning, that peace disappeared, and in its place came this tightness in my chest, like my soul knew that going back would be dying slowly. Then something happened that I could never have planned. A woman reached out to me. I didn't know her. She said she'd been reading my social media posts where I was sharing my journey, and she told me something that changed everything. Thank you for having the courage to speak up. I thought I was crazy for feeling the same way. Now I know I'm not alone. That message was my divine confirmation. I wasn't breaking God's rules. I was breaking the cages that humans built in God's name. And by doing it, I was freeing others who also felt trapped. The following months were deconstruction and reconstruction. I had to dismantle beliefs I'd held for decades, had to face the fear of being wrong, had to release the need for external approval. And that's when God revealed the deepest truth I've ever learned. Obedience to God often looks like disobedience to men. Jesus broke the Sabbath to heal. The Pharisees accused him. The prophets spoke uncomfortable truths. They were persecuted. The saints lived radical lives. They were misunderstood. And me, I was following that same pattern, not because I was special, but because I was being obedient to what God placed in my heart. While this story unfolds, if something inside you is activating right now, if you're feeling like your moment has arrived, support this message with your like and follow me. What's coming next is not coincidence. Because here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. The religious system sometimes prefers your conformity over your freedom. Prefers you follow the rules even when those rules are killing you inside. Because a free person is unpredictable, and unpredictable can't be controlled. But God doesn't want robots. He wants sons and daughters, children who think, who question, who seek, who relate to Him directly, not through human filters that distort His voice. I started meeting with other people on similar journeys, people who had also broken the rules. People who chose their divine calling over religious approval, and knowing there were more like me was liberating. One of them shared something Florence Scovel Shinn wrote: "Intuition is the spiritual voice guiding man." And that resonated so deeply, because my intuition had been screaming at me for years, but I'd silenced it because they told me it was dangerous, that I couldn't trust it, that I should only trust what they taught me. But my intuition came from God. It was God speaking to me directly, and when I finally started listening to it, everything shifted. When I finally started listening to that inner voice, my life began aligning in ways I never imagined possible. It wasn't instant, it wasn't magic, it was a process. But every step I took in obedience to that divine intuition moved me further from the prison I'd called safety for so long. What came next changed everything. I started speaking openly about my experience. Not to attack anyone, not to say my way was the only way, but to give others permission to explore theirs. And the response was overwhelming. People from all over the country started reaching out. I thought I was the only one. I believed I was losing my faith, but now I see I'm finding it. Thank you for saying what I didn't have the courage to say. You saved me from years of guilt and confusion. Every message was a confirmation. Every story they shared was a mirror of mine. And I realized something powerful. God hadn't called me just for my own liberation. He'd called me to be a voice for the voiceless, to be a bridge for those stuck between what they felt and what they'd been taught to believe. But don't think it was easy. There were attacks, hate messages, people calling me a heretic, false prophet, tool of the devil. There were days I wanted to quit, days when the weight of criticism was so heavy I could barely breathe. I remember one particular night. I'd received an especially cruel message. Someone I'd considered a spiritual mentor wrote telling me I was damned, that I was leading others to hell, that God would judge me severely. I sat on my bedroom floor, shaking. What if they're right, I thought. What if I really am wrong? What if this is my ego and not God? I closed my eyes, and I asked God once more, show me the truth, not what I want to hear, the real truth. And then I felt it, that warmth in my chest that only He gives, that peace that surpasses all understanding. And with that peace came clarity. Daughter, those attacking you aren't angry with you. They're angry with the freedom you represent, because your freedom reminds them of the prison they chose to stay in. I wept, but this time from gratitude, because I understood that my obedience didn't require anyone else's approval, only God's, and He had already given me His yes. Months turned into years. And with each year, the fruit of that disobedience became more evident. People left toxic situations, marriages that were destroying their souls, jobs that were killing them inside, churches that manipulated them with guilt, and every single one reported the same thing. I can finally breathe. For the first time, I feel like I actually know God. I found my purpose. I started teaching what I'd learned, not as dogma, but as testimony. I shared how to discern between God's voice and the voice of fear, how to differentiate between divine conviction and religious manipulation, how to trust your intuition when everyone's telling you you're wrong. And here's what nobody told me. When you live in your true calling, when you break the chains that bound you, it's not just you who changes. You change the spiritual atmosphere of your family, your community, everyone around you. My own family started changing. At first, they rejected me, said I'd lost my mind. But over time, seeing the peace in me, the genuine joy, the freedom, they started questioning their own cages. Some still don't get it. And that's okay. Not everyone's ready for their own liberation. But I planted a seed, and I know God will water it when the time is right. Today, I understand that entire process was preparing me for something bigger. Every rejection made me stronger. Every criticism made my message clearer. Every moment of doubt deepened my trust in God. Because when you have to stand alone before Him, when there's no crowd backing you up, when it's just you and God in that dark room, that's where you truly know Him. What I thought was a mistake was actually the exact path I needed to walk. God used that disobedience to show me that His voice is more reliable than 1,000 human voices combined. That His peace is more valuable than all the world's approval. That His purpose for me is bigger than the expectations others had. And today, I can see that every person who criticized me, every door that closed, every relationship that ended, it was all God clearing the path, removing what no longer served my destiny, making space for the new thing He was creating. You know what the most beautiful part of this story is? It's not just my story, it's yours too. Because if you're listening to this, it's not coincidence. The algorithm didn't bring you here. God did, because you're also being called to break rules. The rules they told you were divine, but only keep you small. The rules that keep you in conformity instead of in your destiny. Maybe it's the rule to stay silent when God's asking you to speak. Maybe it's the rule to remain in a toxic place because God hates divorce, or honor your parents no matter how much damage they do. Maybe it's the rule not to pursue your dreams because that's worldly, or you should be content with what you have. But listen to me carefully. Humility isn't making yourself small. It's recognizing who you are in Christ and walking in that without shame. Obedience isn't blind conformity. It's hearing God's voice above all others. Faith isn't never questioning. It's questioning until you find real truth that can withstand any test. Your moment is coming. I feel it. Because the same peace that covered me when I made my decision is available to you right now. The same clarity, the same confirmation, the same freedom. Don't be afraid to disappoint people who placed expectations on you that God never did. Don't be afraid to step out of the mold they built for you. Because that mold was designed for their comfort, not for your purpose. God is showing you there's a different path. A path that maybe no one in your family has walked. A path your friends won't understand. A path that even your church might question. But it's your path, the one God designed specifically for you. And yes, there will be a cost. Yes, you'll lose people. Yes, there will be dark nights where you doubt everything. But on the other side of that radical obedience is a life you can't even imagine right now. A life where you breathe deep and know you're exactly where you're supposed to be. A life where peace doesn't depend on external circumstances because it comes from being aligned with your divine truth. Joseph Murphy said, "Your subconscious accepts what you impress upon it." For years, we impressed upon our subconscious the voices of others, their fears, their limitations, their rules. But now it's time to impress God's voice, His truth, His freedom, His unique purpose for you. Start by asking yourself, what's that thing my soul knows, but my mind still fears to admit? What's that thing that when I think about doing it, I feel peace mixed with terror? What's that rule that when I question it, everyone looks at me like I'm crazy? There's your answer. There's your next step. I'm not saying be rebellious for rebellion's sake. I'm not saying break rules just because. I'm saying learn to discern between what comes from God and what comes from human control. Between what expands you and what contracts you. Between what gives you life and what slowly takes it away. And when you find that clarity, when you feel that peace confirming your direction, walk in it. Even if the ground shakes beneath your feet, even if no one else goes with you, even if it looks like you're alone, because you'll never be alone. God walks with those who have the courage to walk in their truth, with those who choose radical obedience over religious approval, with those willing to look disobedient to men in order to be obedient to heaven. Now that you've heard how I broke the rules that imprisoned me and found my true calling, if you recognize that you're also chosen and waking up to your real purpose, write "awakened" in the comments as your declaration of faith. Leave your like and follow this channel. May God's peace be with you, because your story is just beginning. And I'll be here, sharing mine, to remind you that you're not crazy. You're not alone, and that voice inside you that everyone calls rebellion is actually the most sacred calling you'll ever receive. Walk in your truth, break the chains, and watch how God transforms your disobedience into the testimony that will set thousands free. See you in the next revelation God has prepared. Until then, remember, the rules that limit you were never God's. Your freedom always was. So be it.